Hoi. I'm not quite sure how to start this video. I've not really made a video like this before, and I should have. After spending a few days of seeing and absorbing everything that's been happening in the world and online, and watching videos of Black creators talking through their personal experiences at the moment, in the past, sharing what they've been going through, and not just, you know, in this last week, but their entire lives. And then I watched a few videos by Black booktubers who were very understandably upset and who felt incredibly let down by the booktube community for not using a lot of their platforms to speak up against what's happening and to support the Black Lives Matter movement. I think it's been sort of slowly realizing over the last few days that even if you don't think you have the right words, even if you feel unqualified to talk about it, you have to use your voice if you have it, and it is worse to just not show up at all. And also to just be open to criticism, to getting it wrong, you know, while obviously trying to, you know, constantly educate yourself and learn, but not letting yourself be stopped by the fear of not getting it right. Obviously with this video, I want to encourage everyone to go check out everything that I've put in the description, from donation links, please donate if you can, to petitions you can sign. Again, this is such an important thing to do. Writing to your MP, there's so many different things you can do depending on what country you're in. And then there's just an endless list of, you know, people to follow, voices to listen to. I'm sure you've already found loads over the last few days, but you know, they'll be down there. Learn about what not to do in situations like this, not to demand your Black friends to educate you or constantly make all these requests from people. Learn how to take on information and really, really take it on and apply it. I want to talk about some books as well. I know there's already been so many lists out there, but I'm just gonna add some to it. But I also wanted to add, I guess, some background in case it's helpful for people to hear how I have been learning. I'm from a really small fisherman's town, like historically fisherman's town in the Netherlands, that was predominantly white. The primary school, high school, and even university I went to was mostly white. So it wasn't really until I went to study in the US for a few months near Chicago, and then a few years after that moving to London, which was about 8 or 7 years ago, that I started meeting more people from different backgrounds with different experiences. And so I think for me it wasn't until maybe even a few years into living in London that I started reading more diversely, getting more of an understanding of racism, microaggressions, just history as well that I wasn't taught in school. After working in publishing for a few years, also being more and more aware of the lack of representation that's there. I touched a bit upon this with the video, in the video that I made with Isha from Nights Of, which is an incredible inclusive children's publisher who actually just completed their fundraiser so they can keep existing, which is incredible. And also again, watching the videos by those Black booktubers of everyone saying, BookTube is such a welcoming community and we're all so lovely, and them obviously not experiencing that way, and we just have so far to go, and like listen to them and take it to heart and truly take it on board. When it comes to books, there's also been, a general call to obviously get into the nonfiction, read about history, read about what the situation is like at the moment, but also read broadly and read poetry by Black authors and YA books and fantasy stories. So I have a little bit of a mix here. I think I really want to talk about, I have a pile of books that is like the ones I want to read, but I really wanted to talk about the ones that I've personally read. Where am I going to start? I want to start with the one I read most recently, which is The Black Flamingo by Dean Atta. This is about a gay mixed race boy who is trying to find his place in the world, his identity, in a variety of different ways. And this has a lot of there's some obvious racism in there. There's a lot of microaggressions in there. It's about him finding his place, finding his joy, figuring out his own identity. And it is entirely written in verse. So it's like, a poem in a book form. This is highly recommended, for teens as well as adults. Binti is the first in a sci-fi series of novellas by Nnedi Okorafor about a girl who is the first of her people, the Himba people, to be offered a place at a university on a different planet. And the first novella is about her journey there. She gets very much interrupted by what might be some evil aliens. There's 2 poetry bundles that have been on my shelves for quite a while now, and I came in touch with both of these through my work in publishing. The first one is by Denez Smith, and it's called Don't Call Us Dead. They are a Black non-binary poet. This poetry bundle is a real mix, and definitely, you know, tackles racism, police brutality, but also love, growing up, identity, a bit of pop culture, and it's one that I think is due for a reread very soon. Then there is also Bone by Yersa Daly Ward. Again, I had the chance to hear her perform live, which was really amazing, and this is also about growing up and identity, family, abuse, relationships. It says on the back, it's a symphony of breaking and mending. The next one's one that's been going around so much, and for good reason, which is why I'm no longer talking to white people about race. Rennie has also said that she would also, you know, love for people, if they're purchasing this book, to also donate. This is a great book to read for so many reasons, also because a lot of it is UK based, and so if you are in the UK, I think this is a really vital read. Again, learning more about the history of slavery also in the UK, and the history of racism here, and the reality of what it's like to be a Black person in the UK today. I really want to see if there is a book that is written by a Dutch author as well. I think the Netherlands does about as bad of a job as the UK does when it comes to teaching kids and adults about the history of slavery and colonialism, and the role that these countries played in it. And there's 2 fiction books that do deal specifically with slavery. So there's Homegoing, which is the story of 2, I think it says sisters, I think they're half sisters. The starting location is the Gold Coast of Africa. One of the sisters gets sold into slavery and goes to the US, and the other one remains, and you follow generation upon generation the story of this family and those 2 different experiences. And I think seeing all these different time periods linked together was something that I hadn't seen a lot before, and just seeing the like continuous effect of the things that they've experienced and that have happened to them. And then this is a bit of a sci-fi twist on that, I guess, which is about a Black woman in the 70s who suddenly is pulled back through time to 1815, and it seems like this has happened to her because there's a small white boy who is in danger, and she saves him, and then throughout this book she keeps being pulled forwards and backwards into time. This was originally published in the 70s, like 1979, so again, really interesting to see the perspective of that character from the 70s, writing about beings in another world and then reading it from the current day. Two more recent reads for me. So there is Such a Fun Age by Kylie Reid. This is a contemporary novel and tackles, you know, microaggressions and racism, and also a white woman's fascination with the Black main character of the book. It's also about wealth and fame and keeping up appearances and relationships. She is a Black girl in her 20s, and she is a nanny or babysitting this 3-year-old white girl. They go to a shop late at night, and someone accuses her of having stolen the child. Kind of the thing that sets everything off. Media, social media, and videos going viral and things like that are also discussed in this. And finally, of course, Knots and Crosses by Mallory Blackman. One that I again read more recently, and also had the chance, which was such an honor, to interview Mallory Blackman. I guess this is kind of a form of alternative history where England is ruled by the Crosses, who are Black. They are the majority, they have most of the power, they have most of the wealth, and you follow both a Crosses family and a Knots family. The Knots are white, and so there's Callum from the Knots and Seffi from the Crosses, and they were childhood friends. They're reunited again. There's many parts to this series, and it keeps exploring, as this was written over the years. So I think the first one was written ages ago. Yeah, 2001. And it's so interesting to see that the series has been written over the last 20 years. As our society keeps changing, new issues arise, new discussion topics are there. Mallory has kind of, you know, taken those on and put that into the series. Mallory actually brought up a really interesting point on Twitter as well, saying that she has pitched books as well about, you know, magical siblings and things like that, and a lot of publishers would say, oh, it doesn't seem to be very realistic. And I think there is that problem where Black authors are always expected to write about race. As you know, again, it's good to support broadly. That's it for the book recommendations. Please do donate if you can, sign petitions, look at all the sources in the description. There's always more to learn, even if you think that you know everything. It's our responsibility to be vocal, but also don't speak over people. You know, amplify the voices of Black people, share them and listen to them. If you are a fellow booktuber and you're white, I really want to encourage you to make a video like this. You know, support Black Lives Matter, amplify other voices. I'm sure I missed out on some things, but I'm ready to keep learning. Thank you for watching.